Hello, beautiful people. Hoodie here. I hope you're all doing well. So, the name of this video is As an Artist, I'm My Own Worst Enemy. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Let me tell you where this came from. So, I was driving home the other day. I was listening to this video from a YouTuber. It was a great video, but he was talking about what it took or what it will take to be a successful modern artist or composer or songwriter or musician in 2026, right? And he had this list of things, and it occurred to me, I don't do any of these things, right? All the things that he says, and it just occurred to me that, as an artist, I'm probably my own worst enemy. So let me set the scene for you. Some of the things he was saying, or some of the advice he was giving, because it's all an online world now, right? So he was saying to build a following, you have to really stick to one genre. So you've got to stick in your lane. You've got to be a predictable, safe haven for audiences so that they know what to expect. And if you do something good, you should do it again and again and again, so that audiences who like that first thing will always come back for more and more of that same content. And you just build this safe brand. But for me personally, I think a little bit differently to that, right? That's not the way that I do things, because I'm not trying to be people's favorite artist. What I'm trying to do is create somebody's favorite piece of art. And I call my songs art because that's how I see them. I see them as works of beauty, whether it's a song with vocals or whether it's a song that I've done on the guitar or any other work that I've done. I'll talk about that in a second. I'm trying to create a piece of beauty or a piece of art, right? But I'm trying to create that one piece that really connects with someone. A song that really talks to you and says something to you, or that art that really has an impact on you and in your day, and you hear the right song at the right time. And if that means that I'm my own worst enemy because I keep changing things up, then I guess I'm okay with that. But I've got to give you a little bit more context about how I go about things, because I go about things a little bit differently, and it might explain a little bit more for those who are a bit confused, don't understand what my channel's about, right? So there's something a lot of you guys might not know. I've actually written 4 books. Here's my first book, The Man Who Corrupted Heaven. My second book, The Man Who Settled the Score. My third book, The Woman Who Stole the World. When I started writing those books, and there's another business book which I don't really talk about, but when I started writing those books, I just noticed this pattern, and it's the same pattern I'm seeing in any of the work that I do. And I'll explain it to you, right? Because when I first started writing that first book, That Man Who Corrupted Heaven, I hadn't written a book before. And I certainly hadn't written anything to 77,000 words or something, or 70,000 plus words. Like, this was a huge undertaking for me. It was like learning the craft as I'm crafting the work, right? So I didn't know anything about storytelling. I had to go and look at phrasing and chapter design. All of these things I had to go and learn as I started that project. And that book was a success, right? I've sold thousands of copies of that book. People really love that book. I've had people say it's their favorite book of all time. All of this wonderful things, right? And then, so it would make sense that book 2 should be exactly the same. But of course, I didn't do that, right? I completely changed the formula for book 2. And I gave myself this impossible task to see if it was even remotely possible for me to write this book as a single stream of thought, a confession from somebody to the reader, like a single story that never stops. And I'd never seen it done in a book before. I'd never seen it anywhere, right? So it was a challenge that I'd set to myself that I thought was impossible, but I pulled it off. And it's a great book, and people love that book, right? So again, it's another really difficult thing. And again, book 3 came. And it's actually written in a completely different format that I haven't seen again in any other book. It's written as a fictional true crime podcast in a book, which just sounds crazy. And for the first chapter or two, it's difficult, but then people's mind just switches into gear and they really enjoy this book, right? So here's my books, but the core mindset with all of them is that I start with an impossible idea, or an idea that feels impossible, but I just want to see what I can do, and then I work until it's possible. Right now, let's take that. So I wrote for 15 odd years, and then I needed a break from writing. Yeah, I felt a bit burnt out from writing, so and I wanted to get back into my first love, which was music. Right, so I get into music, and the first song I wrote was a song called Pipe Dreams. And I called it Pipe Dreams because I never thought I'd ever be able to play it. It was a bit too fast, you know. And I've actually slowed down a lot since I wrote that song. But I play that song just fine now, right? I've played it 100 times and I play it, quite comfortably, and it all works really, really well. So again, it's a song I never thought I would be able to play. And then I challenged myself, could I ever record an EP? And I recorded my first EP last year, which was reimagined, remastered, and remarkable. And that's the first guitar EP I'd ever recorded, right? I didn't even know how to go about crafting an instrumental song. But again, I stepped into the recording and releasing my own work. I got 5 completed guitar songs. And this is coming from someone who only ever really played bluesy stuff before. Yeah, I played in some bands and things, but I'd never really crafted tones and melodies and all of these sorts of things. So somebody who really didn't have the skills to go and do these things, and I wanted to create something, so I went and did that. And then my next EP came out last year. I had a really productive year last year, actually. But this was a new project called the Healing Room Project. And this came about after I went and played for a very sick friend of mine on his deathbed. And it was a hugely emotional project for me. And I wanted to find, how I could connect with him. He was in a world of drugs and pain, and he wasn't talking to me or anything. He was just laying there. And so all I could do was try and connect with him. And I thought maybe I'd done some research and said something about playing with this A432 tuning frequency, that it made people feel better. And it certainly, to me, sounds better. I have my acoustics tuned to that frequency because I think when I play acoustic, it just sounds a lot better. Right? On my electrics, I use the standard, but this was a project that I put together, and then I went and changed all the tuning of the other instruments on that album so that everything matched. Quite a difficult thing, when you're working across different instruments, right? So, and that was another project I did. I'm now working on another completely new project with a beautiful Irish singer who has just this beautiful voice, and I just can't wait. I've written a song for her, and I've recorded it, and we're going to go into a studio next week and record the vocals. So some really beautiful music coming there. I've got a dance song that I'm looking for the right singer for. And I have other projects that I'm always doing because I can never stop. I can never sit still. And I love this stuff, right? So all different styles, but the same intention, right? Create something, create a piece of art that will move somebody in some way, right? Each project is a new mountain for me to climb. So I'm waffling, but let me start to bring this home for you. Why don't I stay in my box? I don't, because I believe art should evolve, right? I think art requires taking risks and trying new things. I don't think masterpieces come from playing it safe. And I'm not saying I've created my masterpiece, but I would like to do that one day if I haven't already. Maybe my books are, maybe some of my music really connects with people. I don't know, but that's what I'm going for every single song, right? Or every single piece of work is some sort of masterpiece that I can have forever. So in this regard, I guess I am my own worst enemy, right? I'm not following that pattern that the YouTuber said the other day, but I refuse to settle, and I refuse to settle because I care really deeply for people, and I want to create something for people, right? I want to create art for people, um, because I believe I have something to say, and I hope that it sort of connects with somebody. So, a couple of weeks ago, somebody said something to me. Instead of calling me a guitarist, they were listening to me play, and they said, "You know what? You're an artist. You're a real artist in the way you play these things." And that was such a nice thing to hear. It was a real compliment to me because I love to play guitar, but I've never really considered myself a guitar player. It's just the thing that I pick up to get the next emotion out that I want to get out. So, um, you could say that I accept the cost of not, adhering to those standards, but that's okay. The cost is it gives me a slower path. Sometimes I confuse followers of people that listen to my stuff because they may come in wanting to hear me play some guitar and all of a sudden I'm singing some song, or they might come in and I'm doing one of these videos where I talk to camera and all of this sort of stuff. Um, but and I certainly have a lot of self doubts. There's a lot of fear in doing these videos because maybe there's 10 people out there who will laugh at me or think I'm an idiot or whatever. But I refuse to let fear stop me from doing something beautiful, because even if those 10 people laugh, then maybe there's one person that really hears something in this that inspires them to go and do something different and try and do something new. So let me finish by saying this. Whether you are a person who likes my guitar videos or these talking videos or my original songs or even any of my books, right? Um, or perhaps you just stumbled across this video completely randomly. I just want to say thank you for your time and your attention. Thank you for listening to what I got to say. Thank you for listening to my music. Thank you for reading my books. Um, I'm going to keep searching for new things to say and new ways to say them. And I truly hope that you find whatever it is you're looking for in life too, and that we can all do things together, and we can make this world a better place. It's at this time I got to say things like follow and subscribe and all of that stuff. But if you're still here, you've either done that already or you had no intention to in the first place. But I appreciate you listening. I appreciate your time. Have a great day, and thanks. Thanks again.